Moses, I got a question for you. Was Javier Sinoja actually safe? You and I were actually on different sides of the aisle on this. You felt that he was out. I felt he was safe.
I tweeted the video because I felt so passionately about this. There's one point of view, especially the one that I tweeted out, in my opinion, clearly looks like he's out. The glove touches leg before impact on base happens. Could it have been one of these things where this is the base and this is the foot and it goes like this and then it goes crunch like that, where the toe touches and it's not until the momentum of the body hits it, you know what I'm saying? He's either safe or he's out. The opinion of it's too close to call, there's no place in baseball for that talking point anymore. It should be one or the other. And if it is truly a tie where you look and per millisecond frame, it is an exact tie, then in that case, tie goes to the runner. But there almost is no true tie. I don't know what New York saw. I genuinely don't know, because seeing the angle that I saw, glove touched leg, and then impact on base happened.
So here's where it was interesting for me, because I felt he was safe. From my perspective, glove touched knee, and I think his spikes touched the base first. I think his spikes were on the base at the same time. The thing that was interesting for me, they only had two angles. Neither of the angles were helpful. What we really needed was like a shot from right field, looking from second base to, you're going through it. It was looking from second base to third base, because we really would have been able to see that a little. They didn't spend much time on it.
Well, they
spent more time on the Eugenio Suarez tagging up than they did the stolen base.
Yeah, that text that you sent me popped up while I was screen recording, which is hilarious. But what's annoying is it's 2026 and we're in the information era. It is so easy for us to get access to everything. I feel like to defend or justify a controversial call like this, they don't show the public everything. We all know that the only two camera angles that we saw, that's not the only things they saw. They had multiple camera angles. Just to shoot down my own argument, probably what they had was a shot of what we've been talking about, where this is base, foot comes in, touches base, body momentum hits, and then finally you see the impact on the base. The one that I tweeted, the video, it kind of looks, he looks more egregiously out. Now I have to look at it again, because I am genuinely...
Yeah. The hard part of the angle is it's not from... I don't feel like we got a really conclusive look at it.
And I think that's by design. Looking at this video again, it even looks like the leg was being touched by glove before foot even potentially touched base. This point of view that I tweeted out, go check it out on Twitter. This is a very good slow motion back and forth, so your eyes can look at one thing, look at the other, look at one thing. I'm gonna die on the hill that he was out.
I don't agree. I agree. I felt he was safe, but it's also one of those things where when you don't have a conclusive look, then the call on the field stands. That's just how it is. The WBC was not without controversies. The USA beat Dominican Republic in a controversial way. I don't remember who the batter was for DR.
It's like Perdumo or whatever his last name is.
It was obviously low. ABS is definitely going to be in the next WBC.
Oh yeah. And I sent you a text message that said, I really wish MLB would have implemented ABS in 2025 so that the World Baseball Classic would have been prepared and had the resources to have ABS this year, which that's just fumbling the bag a little bit for MLB and World Baseball Classic not having the foresight there. People are saying that umpire's been calling that all game. You can't take pitches like that. In the ABS era, that is no longer a talking point. That is a boomer take. And if you're a boomer watching this, hey, listen, everybody loves boomers. I'm not going to be arguing that someone should have not taken a pitch, because ultimately that was a ball. He should not have been called out. And in 2026, he's going to get that challenged and he's going to get to continue the at-bat. Coming from like a coaching perspective, lots of people on the internet are all saying like, you can't take that. What's that batter thinking? He's been calling that call all game. Like, what are you thinking? I'm not a coach. This is one of those moments where like, do you coach that and say like, hey, you did nothing wrong? That's what I would do. I'd be like, hey, listen, it was a freaking ball. Like, I understand that in our situation, you probably should have swung. You did nothing wrong.
So I'm observing the game and I'm looking at pregame, and they're doing the national anthems. They did the national anthem of Venezuela. They did the national anthem of the United States. And one thing I love about the WBC in general is getting to see the culture of different countries on the diamond, where you see like Latin countries just play with a lot more emotion than the United States or Asian countries, right? Venezuela, Dominican Republic, they get hyped over an RBI. And it's super fun to watch. I kind of like the idea of MLB adopting that a little bit because MLB has this kind of like we are robots culture. I don't know if you need to like jump up and down over an RBI single. Have a little fun, have a little emotion. I'm down with that. Yeah. Back to the national anthems. You're watching Venezuela. All their players are singing their national anthem. All their fans are singing the national anthem, crying. And then you go to US and they're just like, we are robots. Other than Bryce Harper and Bobby Witt Jr. were singing.
I wonder which one started singing first, and the other one was like, frick, I probably need to start singing.
Hey, and they're the only two that really contributed. So next time, sing the national anthem, friends.
Next WBC, that's going to be a betting thing. Who's actually singing? I see what you're saying, though. I think Americans are just a little just like used to it, and we have more going on probably than Venezuela. Venezuelans, obviously, clearly, not to get political, but there's a lot going on right now, and USA versus Venezuela is probably, for some of them, a very big thing for them. Isn't it the first time Venezuela's ever been to the finals?
First time they've won, I know that. That leads to my question, though. What's bigger, winning a World Series or winning the WBC?
To give you the boring, logical answer, I think the answer has to be the World Baseball Classic. Probably because all these rosters are way more stacked than they are in the MLB. In the World Baseball Classic, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, USA, those three teams were probably a few of the most impressive rosters I've ever seen. Dominican Republic, they had a roster that is like super good, but like I was not surprised that they choked. People like Tatis, they can be super hot and super cold. I would argue World Baseball Classic's probably a bigger deal because if you look at our rosters that we're going up against, they're good major league teams. Like they're great. I'm not sure they even compare. The Dodgers are basically a World Baseball Classic team. So I was going to make the analogy. What do you think would happen if you were to throw Venezuela versus the Dodgers? That'd be a really good game to see. Or even our Team USA versus the Dodgers of yesteryear. It's a question of, obviously you think the super roster of one of these World Baseball Classic teams would win. One of them happens every year. One of them happens every 3 years. By default, the kind of boring answer is World Baseball Classic is probably a bigger deal.
I think it depends on who you ask. I look at it a little bit differently, where yes, all of the rosters are stacked and you're playing the best of the best. What is it, a 7-game tournament if you go the distance versus a 162-game grind and then going through the postseason? To me, maybe a World Series is bigger than winning the WBC just because of all of the work and all of the grind and like the payoff. Showing up to camp on February 20th. Last year, Game 7 of the World Series was on November 1st. The only time you weren't doing something with your team was January and December. For us, the World Series it's an American thing. Yeah. But I think globally, the WBC is probably a bigger deal to Venezuela than Dodgers winning the World Series.
A whole country gets to be excited about something, and America already has so many sports and so many big things happening. For us, it's just another thing. Whereas a country like Venezuela, Japan, they don't have football teams. USA probably just wasn't in it as much. I mean, we all have USA pride. We all chant USA here and there. You can tell it's their pride and joy. Each one of those players was sitting there bawling, crying, hugging their families like it's one of the greatest moments of their life. Not to change the subject, but even Salvi said, I think I can retire now. Yeah. That I have breaking news for those of you that didn't hear it. Salvi wants to retire. Oh my gosh. Who knows what actually is going to happen. The MLB season is way too long. There should not be 162 games. Tarek Skubal or Paul Skeens would have been scheduled to pitch during this finals. USA might have won.
Nolan McLean did his job. I'll give him that.
He gave up 2 runs.
Okay, we had 3 hits.
Wait, did he give up 2? Yeah, he gave up 2 runs.
2 runs. You should feel you're in a position to win if you give up 2 runs.
Giving up 2 runs to that Venezuela lineup, I will admit, that is very, very good pitching.
Yeah, you're never going to be mad at your starting pitcher for giving up 2 runs. The management teams of each country, like they get instruction from the players' MLB teams. This player's available today. This person's unavailable. You can only use them in this situation. Venezuela was having to kind of juggle that. You have that anyway just because it's spring training and you don't want to overdo it because you're still kind of getting back into the swing of things. I'm curious where you're at on this. I think, and I don't know the logistics of it or how they would even make this happen. I would love to see the WBC move to like July. They could do it like during All-Star week. They could just extend the All-Star break. They could just extend it like a week every third year. That way everybody's stretched out. There's no real restrictions. If you want, Paul Skeens can go 8 innings. He should be able to go 8 innings. I think that'd be pretty sweet. It waters it down a little bit, the WBC. Italy would have had to do a bullpen game if they made it to the final. And it was to the point where like Venezuela worked out, but they couldn't even really set up their bullpen how they wanted to unless they got a specific scenario. If it would have gotten to extra innings, it would have gotten really dicey from a pitching standpoint.
Don't think I would be a big fan of in the middle of a playoff potential season, we have all of our players going out and having their attention divided and letting them, like, let's say Team USA wins and Bobby already gets to experience a big moment. You don't want his momentum or mindset to change at all in the middle of the season because he already experienced something big. God forbid an injury to happen, at the middle of the season that could affect the playoffs, as opposed to the beginning of the season where if someone were to get injured, Teal, the catcher for the White Sox, getting injured with Italy, is a short injury. He just wasn't going to be able to play that game. I see where you're coming from, but I don't mind it being in the beginning of the season, not to just be contrary for the sake of being contrary, but there's other things that they can do, like better recruitment, first of all, and second of all, there's plenty of worthy players that could play for each of these countries. Have a reserve roster. Have a reserve 10 players that are willing to pitch. Teams need to get off their high horse and allow their players to do whatever they need to do for the World Baseball Classic because it's a different entity. They're playing for legit money. It's a great way for them to get warmed up for the season, especially if they have a successful World Baseball Classic. And if they don't, they come and get to be with their team for spring training early. It's only a win-win if it's in the beginning of the season.
I think what you said there is good. Teams need to get off their high horse because either let them off the leash or just don't let them go at all. I think Venezuela having to be like, well, this guy, he's only available if it's a safe situation. Otherwise, he's not, like, that is annoying.
That was super stupid. Who was that was only available for a safe situation? Like one of their best relievers for Venezuela? Yeah. That is very, very stupid. I think that there should be some kind of you are waiving away your rights to this player for this amount of time. It's the thing of you don't want to risk your asset. If there was a World Football Classic and football was happening in the preseason, we probably would not want our $50 million once in a lifetime generational quarterback Patrick Mahomes going out and tearing his ACL on some scramble play before our season starts. There should be some kind of incentive for a baseball team to be willing to give up their players for the World Baseball Classic. If they get hurt, you get a free draft pick. If you get hurt, this is an MLB participation thing. MLB, I don't know if the MLB owns the World Baseball Classic, but Rob Manfred was the one handing out the medals. So World Baseball Classic is clearly an affiliate of the MLB. So the fact that there's situations where the best players in the world aren't playing is absolutely stupid.
The Astros didn't let Jose Altuve or Carlos Correa play in the WBC because they didn't want to risk injury. Last WBC, Altuve got hurt. He was out until May or something.
It's a freak accident though, and it only happens every 3 years, and it's something that the team maybe compensate the team the amount of money they have to pay the player. I got a notification from X that said USA Dominican Republic game broke a bunch of viewership records for the World Baseball Classic. I am curious the viewership of the World Series. The World Baseball Classic touched 7.5 million recurrent viewers, which says something considering half of it was paywalled, which is a gigantic, stupid, horrible MLB. What are you doing? Why are you not wanting to show off the greatest freaking product ever? That frustrated me.
This is without doing a super deep dive. The World Series on average in the US drew over 15 million viewers, which was the highest since 2017. However, game 7 of the World Series last year, Toronto versus the Dodgers, US, Canada, and Japan viewership averaged 51 million viewers.
Wow. Okay.
Now with those three throughout the entire series, it was 34 million, but just from a US standpoint, 15.
Okay. Which, this is ridiculous. I don't understand how a yearly World Series product is able to get that kind of viewership, but the World Baseball Classic can't get that. Oh, I wonder why. Probably because it's freaking paywalled. Stop paywalling stuff and maybe people will actually watch.
Well, there's a couple things going against the WBC, and one, it is paywalled. I don't think any of those games should have been on FS1.
Absolutely.
At least from USA standpoint, why are Team USA games in America not on Fox every night?
Yeah. Yes,
that
absolutely.
Is absurd. Also, WBC is a fairly new tournament in the grand scheme of things. The first one was in 2006. The history and the juice isn't quite there yet. Each edition of it, I think more and more people are excited for it. It doesn't have the history that the Olympics do or the World Cup does. So I don't think people are quite there. Also, I think MLB does a really bad job of marketing it. I think
MLB
that's
does
an
a horrible
issue
job
too.
of marketing everything. So tell me, I don't understand. I was looking at a tweet that I saw that said that from coast to coast and everywhere in between, fans are tuning in at record levels for the World Baseball Classic. So the USA pool play games on Fox and FS1. How many million people tuned in? So the World Baseball Classic viewership per market shows that Kansas City is the number one market for the World Baseball Classic viewership, 3.46 million in the Kansas City metro area. Next up was Philadelphia at number 2 with 2.9 million, essentially. That's 500,000 less. And then St. Louis at 3, San Diego at 4, Milwaukee at 5. That is 1, 2, 3 small market cities leading the viewership, which is awesome. Something I wanted to bring up about this, Derek Jeter. I don't know what his beef is with Kansas City, but he asked a question that you said was a stupid question to begin with. He asked Michael Garcia while Michael Garcia was on the panel a couple nights ago, does this environment compare anything to Kansas City at all? And Michael Garcia is like, oh, not even close. Which, if you don't understand what I'm saying, Michael Garcia and Derek Jeter are essentially saying that the World Baseball Classic environment is way better than Kansas City. I don't understand why you even asked that question. Why are you just live on TV trying to talk crap on the number one viewership market in America?
Loved Derek Jeter as a player. He's not appointment television, though, from a broadcasting standpoint. I don't think he meant anything negative by that. I think he was just kind of like, does this compare to Kansas City? Because it is very clear, like, Venezuela and Venezuelan fans showed out.
Oh, yeah.
And you think about it, going back to 162 game schedule versus a 7 game schedule from a soccer standpoint for club and for country, right? For country, fans are going to show out, especially in a really condensed environment. Royals fans, especially if you're bad, they're not showing up. They're not selling out Kauffman Stadium in September. They're just not. So it's really impossible to compare because it's two completely different situations. And I think Michael answered it in the best way that he could, with giving respect to Kansas City and also acknowledging that, yeah, this is completely different.
You're on a hot mic surrounded by a bunch of Hall of Famers. Like, what the heck are you supposed to say? I mean, you answered it honestly. This place is roaring, and it's probably the most adrenaline rush he's ever had, getting a base hit, scoring somebody. So I just don't... Stupid question. All you got to say is reword your question. Just say, like, tell me about this crowd. You know, like...
Yeah, you don't even have to bring up Kansas City.
Yeah, don't even... Why are you throwing shade at Kansas City for zero reason at all?
Talking about Kansas City, talking about the viewership numbers. Kansas City, I wish I would have pulled this up. Kansas City loves sports. Kansas City just watches sports. Like, I think when we watch the NCAA tournament, which is starting this week, Kansas City is going to be top 5. They just will be. They just love sports.
Unless you got some salty KU fans.
With this, how we mentioned earlier, the Royals were really showing out, and they were kind of the highlight of the WBC. Of course, we're going to pay attention to that.